Hey everybody, Future Chase here. I am just giving you a quick heads up that I had my mic settings a little weird during this next recording. We did our best to tame it down, but you'll still notice it's not as good a quality as we normally bring to the table, and just wanted to apologize, but we thought the content was amazing and we still wanted to bring you this episode. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Amazon has created, in my opinion, a very inexpensive way for people to launch new brands and to test new ideas.
Welcome to Honest Ecommerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today I've got an amazing guest. He is the host of the Ecomm Breakthrough Podcast. He is the CEO of an 8-figure e-commerce brand, Josh Hadley. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Chase, happy to be here.
I'm excited to chat. So first, at the top, we're going to obviously want to pitch the podcast. What are you guys discussing on the podcast? What are people going to listen and pick up on if they go and check it out, which everyone should?
Yeah, so it's called Ecomm Breakthrough, Ecomm with 2 M's, and it's meant for 7-figure e-commerce business owners. And what I share on that podcast are actionable strategies to help scale your brand to 8 figures and beyond. So my one thing that I'm kind of like known for is every single episode, I leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways from every episode. Each episode's about 45 minutes to an hour long. So we go into we deep dive into different topics and strategies. It's all about actionable content so that, you're listening to something. It's something you could actually go do about it after you're done listening. So that's what it is. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Podcasting is a lot of fun. Now, take me back in time. How'd you end up in this wild world of e-commerce? What was going on?
Yeah, so I've always been the kid, trying to sell candy or whatnot on the corner of the street all growing up. And so deep down, I've always kind of known, I love business. I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur, even though I didn't know what that word actually meant when I was younger, right? So fast forward to, I ended up, when I went to college, I was like, I don't know what I want to do other than I know I love business and I want to lead and manage businesses, but there's no CEO, courses in college. I mean, they have general business management, but I ended up deciding to study finance because I enjoyed numbers in terms of making money in the stock market, right? So that's where I spent my time. And then I subsequently did my MBA as well there at the University of Utah. Now, part of the reason I did that back to back is because one thing I got involved in college was called the Utah Entrepreneur Challenge. So in that challenge, I kind of organized and ran the statewide business plan competition for all collegiate students in the state of Utah. So it was literally like Shark Tank styled pitches. The winner would get $40,000 to go start their brand, sponsored by Zions Bank. So anyways, it was a fascinating environment. It just got my mind, going on different business ideas. So I graduate college, graduate with my MBA, get a job offer with American Airlines in their MBA leadership development program. And so that brought us from Utah down to Dallas, where we're currently at. And, during that summer, my wife was she graduated college at the same time, but in early childhood education. And so for her, she was like, hey, do I need to go get a job? What do you want me to do? I've always loved art when I was younger, and I would love to experiment with this graphic design thing. And so I was like, yeah, fine. That's, this salary is more than enough for 2 people. So go do what you want for a little while. So she starts custom designing some wedding invitations for some friends that then those friends are like, oh my goodness, you're amazing at what you do. I'm going to refer you to this friend and this friend. So me being the entrepreneur, I was like, this is a business. This is a business idea. So literally 2 months into working at American Airlines, we decided to, start this custom wedding invitation business. So we got it to a point, I created some Facebook ad funnels, and this was back in 2014, 2015. So Facebook ads were a whole different ballgame back then. But I remember like I went through a course, learned it, and I was like, all right, let's throw some spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. And sure enough, one of my first ads on Facebook like worked, and it was like shooting fish in a barrel. And we ultimately built it up to where it was like a 6-month waiting list just to work with my wife and have her custom design these wedding invitations for clients. However, we had our first child in 2015. And it was at that point, we're like, okay, this isn't sustainable for us to like, my wife was just working all hours of the day. And literally like the only way we could make more money is to have her work with more clients, but she was already at max capacity. So it presented that like scalability issue at that point. And at the time, I had already been paying attention to a lot of courses that were preaching about, hey, make millions of dollars selling on Amazon. And I had experimented with a few, created a few products, etc. None of them really took off, but it gave me an essential background and framework, which then like this pivot with our wedding invitation business into what we're doing now was instrumental. So the lesson from that story is like, I don't see all of those steps as like failures. Oh, I tried to launch this product and it didn't take off. Failure. Like, no, I see that as like, I kept trying to just like, I was like, my favorite analogy is this. It's like you're fishing, right? And you have no idea where the fish are. And you also don't know what type of bait those fish are going to be eating for the day, right? And so all I was doing this entire time is I've always been, I can't tell you the number of business ideas that I've tried to launch, and that's for another episode, but I just kept casting, right? Casting something out, letting it sit, see what would happen. And so lo and behold, we have the scalability issue. But one thing that people talked about having these wedding clients would come back to us and they would say, hey, can you design some recipe cards for my bridal shower? I was like, we can, but you're not going to pay as much money for these recipe cards as you did for your wedding invitations. So at that point, I was like, but what if we mass produced our top 3 designs from these wedding invitations, turn them into recipe cards, and let people buy them, right? So that's where kind of the ideas merged. I threw them up on Amazon and we sold out within the first couple months. And I was like, holy smokes, we're off to the races. So we immediately pivoted the business and turned off the Facebook ads and immediately pivoted into Amazon. That was the fall of 2016. So all of 2017, we're all in on Amazon. We did $1 million our first year on Amazon. And then we have since scaled it. We've had to do a couple pivots in between now and then. But that's kind of the genesis of our business.
No, absolutely. That's an amazing story. And I like that you were honest and like you've tried a million things and some worked and some didn't. And I think that analysis paralysis and not trying things and being scared of failure is why a lot of entrepreneurs don't take that next step. And it's just becoming comfortable with failure and failing fast and just being okay with it. Like, well, we tried it. That didn't work. What did we learn?
100%. At the end of the day, it's all about reps, right? And you look at, another good analogy is baseball and the batters, right? 0.25 batting average is average, right? You get into the 3s and heaven forbid 0.4, like you're an exceptional batter. But that means, guess what? You're striking out or not getting on base the majority of the time, right?
Exactly.
But you're going to have some home runs within there. But here's the thing. Just get up to the plate, swing, and always be taking chances. And then double down when something has legs under it. And you're like, oh, this thing's actually starting to move. And that's been like, that's a summation of my entire journey is like, I tried a software SaaS business, right? I tried just creating like a fashion e-commerce brand. Obviously we're not talking about that. So that didn't work, right? Tried doing a couple different products on Amazon, selling textbooks, etc. All of these things gave me experience that then led to, as I kept taking reps, as soon as something worked, went all in on it. And then we've been able to scale it.
Yeah. And it's with all those reps, you start to see those leading indications of like, there's something here.
Yeah.
And without just putting in the work and figuring out and trying stuff, you don't even get that like almost entrepreneurial fifth sense of like, well, it was way easier to make this $1,000 than those other dozen times. Like, how do we expand upon this? Something that we haven't really covered on the show much, because honest e-commerce generally, you know, we're talking about like your own brand and building that out on Shopify. And there's obviously like, or something like Shopify. I'm just a Shopify fanboy. That's a completely different monster than harnessing the giant that is Amazon and their customer base. So I guess first, could you walk me through the pros and cons, if you want to be more honest, of building a business using the tools that Amazon gives you?
Yeah, I think the grass is always greener, right? Those that have Shopify brands, I'm jealous of you and that you've found a way to drive your own traffic and not have to deal with Amazon. And then likewise, I mean, there are pros that come with Amazon, and we're looking at, for our own brand, looking to kind of branch out and go more D2C now as well. So with that being said, you know, Amazon brings tons of customers, right? And in e-commerce, like, Amazon is king. That's where most people even start searching for a product even before they'll go to it on Google. And so that's kind of where a lot of people, they natively love to shop. They have a lot of trust built in with Amazon. So you've got a very active buyer pool. And in addition to that, they have for their ad platform. And these people that are on Amazon, they are at the very bottom of the funnel. They are there on Amazon because the buyer intent is extremely high. It's a shopping platform. They are specifically looking to buy something, right? So those are all the pros of Amazon, right? Now the cons of Amazon, right? You don't get the customer shipping information, right? You don't, unless you're doing, you can fulfill it yourself, and if you do that, but you're not going to have the Prime badge if you just do your own fulfillment. So there are drawbacks that way, but you're not going to get the customer's contact information, their email. There are ways around it, but in general, the rule is no, you're not going to get that information.
It's Amazon's customer. It's not Josh's customer.
Yeah, exactly. And then different people have different opinions on like what you can and include in the package and whatnot. But with that being said, like in terms of like marketing material, going back to your website, but the other thing with Amazon, a con, is like Amazon knows they've got a grasp on the entire e-commerce industry in the US. And so all they do every single year is they just raise their seller fees, raise the FBA fees fulfilled by Amazon, right? And that makes it more complicated, right? And so what we see right now in the Amazon space is just drastic margin compression. I think that Amazon is heavily courting all of these Chinese brands right now because they're trying to compete with like a Temu and a Shein and all of that. And so they're like, we just need cheap crap. And so anyways, that if I were in Amazon's leadership, I'd be like, do you really want to be a competitor to Temu? Because people that go to Temu expect garbage. Do you want to turn Amazon to be the next Wish down the road 10 years from now? But I don't think you'll necessarily get there. But that's who you're competing against, right? Is like just cheap crap. And so people, it's just a lot of margin compression. It's a race to the bottom more oftentimes than not. However, if you have a designed or patented product, right, Amazon can be a great place because there are certain customers that will only buy on Amazon. And obviously there's a segment of customers that will not buy on Amazon. And then the last, I guess, like pro that I would say is, and this has been our biggest benefit, is Amazon's FBA system, right? Like being able to ship, we have over 1,400 different SKUs. Being able to ship everything into Amazon. Now, Amazon's increasing fees and they don't want you to send in too much, not too little. So that in and of itself is becoming more complex than it ever has been. But the reality of like the shipping, the fulfillment fees that you get from Amazon, like that's extremely hard for even another big 3PL to replicate those low costs of being able to ship to a customer and also being able to pick, pack, and fulfill it. Like Amazon has scaled their operations, and I would argue it's really hard to find anywhere else to fulfill it cheaper than through Amazon. So at the end of the day, Amazon's probably walking away with 45% of the entire product, of the revenue, right? So of the revenue share, you're going to be lucky to come out with like a gross profit margin of, a healthy one is 40%. 40 to 50% is healthy in the Amazon space.
Wow. I mean, there was so much there. And I think that merchants need to they're like, well, I can just ship these things myself. And it's like, you can ship a dozen things a day by yourself. You can't ship at the velocity to which you have a $1 million business, even beyond that. There's no way to do that yourself. And, I think that you hit the nail on the head. You're never going to find a cheaper 3PL than using Amazon. It's just annoying that you're also paying Amazon for that fee. Because if you break it apart and then you've got your seller's fees and then against the 3PL, it's a little easier, I guess, to swallow that percentage. But yeah, there's just so much power to it. One thing that I always thought was interesting, and I even kind of tell people, and I'm sure that you've got some insights on this, is when you're testing an idea, doing that not using Amazon's collective customer base. Like if you're going to build it out on, say, a Shopify store, and then you have to build a funnel, and then you have to drive the traffic and all this stuff just to test an idea, I almost say make a fake brand and just text the product and the copy on Amazon and see if you've got a winner. Just because, I don't know, is that a strategy people are employing much?
Yeah, 100%. And Amazon, so like the number one growth lever for Amazon sellers is just launching new products. And it's a numbers game, right? And the nice part about Amazon is they're going to share with you all the data. So they're going to share with you, like, this is how much search volume is going on for these particular keywords. And by the way, here's the average conversion rate. Okay. So what's really great is if you can create a product, put it up on Amazon, and within the first 30 days, 30 days is more than sufficient, maybe even 2 weeks, you'll know whether you have a winner or not. Because if your conversion rate is beating the market leader or the market average conversion rate there for that specific category on Amazon, you've got some room to run here. You're going to start being ranked organically on Amazon, but it just creates this whole flywheel. But in my opinion, it's, Amazon has created, in my opinion, a very inexpensive way for people to launch new brands and to test new ideas. It's never been cheaper than it is today to launch a brand new product. You think about it, you go back in time, and if you want to get into retail stores, you're paying slotting fees, you're having to go in with a bunch of capital, you're not getting paid on that order for X amount of days. And so that's very challenging.
I saw something on the internet the other day. It was a net 365 deal to get into a giant auto parts conglomerate nationwide.
That's brutal.
So you're sending them a year's worth of product to stock 300 locations and you're not going to get paid for a year. Most small businesses probably don't have the capital to float that deal.
Heck no. So Amazon, it's quick wins. It can be quick wins, but it's also very competitive because of that, right?
I think that, so if you found a winner on Amazon, obviously you could just double down on Amazon. It's already working. You figured it out. But do you think at that point it might be worthwhile to take a step back and be like, do I want to build this off Amazon? We know that the market will buy here on Amazon and there are customers here, but finding them elsewhere, or is that just a esoteric conversation to have with yourself?
No, honestly, it's probably one of the best strategies that you could do. So here's what I would recommend. Yeah, start on Amazon. And for those of you who know how to create funnels and you're really good at marketing and driving your own traffic, keep doing that. But don't send it to Amazon, because here's what's going to happen. And I had Brett Curry, he's from OMG agency. I had him on my podcast, and he shared a very fascinating fact, and I'll kind of elaborate further here. So if you're running a Facebook ad to a funnel, okay, and you're profitable in that funnel and it makes sense, you're going to keep it going. That's great. Keep it going. And you've got customers that you could then follow up with. You could then provide them upsells. you have more control over that customer. Try to get them on your reoccurring subscriptions, whatever you're trying to do. Now, here's the sweet spot of being on Amazon while you're also running these funnels. There are, like I said, people that will not trust a funnel, right? They will not trust buying something from a Facebook ad. So what do they do? And Brett Curry, again, talked about this. He argued it's as high as 50% of people will stop and they will search Amazon for that specific product. And I can't tell you.
I've done this before.
Yeah, I do the exact thing myself.
When I know it's a cheap piece of crap, though, I'm like, I'm not paying $27 for that. I know it's $12. Let me see what it is on Amazon.
Yeah, they'll stop. They'll go to Amazon. So if you could then, again, you've got to have price parity, obviously. So you've got to figure out a clever way of how you're going to build that bundle to offset the ad costs. But anyways, you're going to then be driving external traffic to Amazon. And here's the secret. These customers are searching on Amazon, they're finding your product on Amazon, and then they're buying your product on Amazon. It's called the search, find, buy method. That is the most powerful method on Amazon to rank your product organically. And you, without manipulating search results, you're getting organic search, find, and buy because you're running this Facebook ad. People stop, they go to Amazon, they search it, they find it, they buy it. That's massive. Whereas I would argue 90% of Amazon sellers, they don't have anything like that going on. All they do is just focus on Amazon.
There's a entrepreneur that I follow, Zach Stuck, I believe is his name. And he runs Homestead Studios, and they are a paid agency, but I know he has since more focused on, they bought a few brands to do it themselves because they know how to do it. And he shares a lot of awesome stuff. His Twitter account is great, and I'll make sure to link to it. But one thing that he said the other day was they tracked when they were spending and when they weren't spending on Facebook, and these ads were pointed right at their product on they have Shopify stores, but they were also comparatively looking at the numbers on Amazon, and there is an uptick. It is completely, you can see it in the numbers, and the correlation is there, and they're like, yeah, we're, not only are we seeing the ROI from Facebook to Shopify, and that's extremely quantifiable with a pixel. We're seeing this other lift here that we could start to attribute. And so if you look at a more complex method like marketing efficiency ratio, comparing total sales across all channels versus total spend across all channels, you'll see some potentially better numbers and better margins.
Yeah, 100%. And Brett Curry shared this on my podcast. A lot of those people that used to do a lot of the infomercials, they'll still do the infomercials, right? But instead of getting a lot of their orders from people calling in or from people, placing the, money check order in the mail or whatever.
Available now on Amazon.
More than 50% of the orders are coming on Amazon from those late night infomercials now. So if the infomercial guys know that, okay, the halo effect is Amazon, we don't have to say Amazon. They don't say Amazon, in fact, but people are going there.
Yeah, I think it's just, people assume it's on Amazon. And so they're going to just grab their phone and search it. And it's, you got a memorable product name or brand name, just type that right in, see what comes up.
Yep, 100%.
This has been a fantastic conversation. Now, if I was to go out, and I think that Amazon would be a better route for me as an entrepreneur, and I wanted to start a business on Amazon. We already talked about how testing, it's fantastic. What are some other things that I should keep in mind?
Yeah, I think that as you get started on Amazon, again, there's a whole method to the madness on Amazon, right? It's all keyword driven and SEO focused, and who knows what AI is going to do to their search algorithm. I don't know. But keywords are essential. Amazon advertising is an essential component as well. So you're going to have to figure out, it's basically PPC. So if you're doing Google PPC at all, Google PPC is a lot more complex than Amazon is. Amazon's probably a few years behind what Google's PPC setup looks like. So, but getting really good at that is also a really big component of that. And so there are a few courses and people that I would recommend that you follow. One would be Brandon Young. He has a course. It's like a college level course for like selling on Amazon. And there's a lot of gurus out there that preach, I'll teach you how to sell on Amazon and make $1 million and you just sit at the beach. And Amazon is not a passive income business. So let me just say that. Like, this is active management on a daily basis.
Gurus are the reason I started this podcast. It's called Honest Ecommerce for that reason. I've been in e-commerce almost 10 years now. And if it was that easy, why am I interviewing you right now? I should be on a beach. I want a Mai Tai. Where's my $1 million?
Yep, exactly. So Amazon's not the silver bullet by any means. It's a whole other channel, but it is a massive channel. And if you can get that flywheel going, it can certainly be well worth your time. So recommendations, people to follow would be Brandon Young. He has a course called Seller Systems, by far one of the best out there. And then Helium 10, that's like the biggest like software tool that a lot of Amazon sellers use. This will allow you, it's a free Chrome extension. It will allow you to go in there and you can see all the sales for all the competitors. How much money are they making on a monthly basis? How many sales are they doing on a monthly basis? What's their best selling product, etc.? Where are they based out of, China or the US, right? So there's a ton of tools that you can find and also like learn the keyword, like the keyword data, like what keywords are they using in their listings. So all of that's there. And then Helium 10 has like a course called Freedom Ticket. And I actually teach one of the modules in that course about how to scale your team and hire really good talent. Management level staff overseas is kind of my area of specialty. So that one's a really good, like, basic building blocks if you're interested at getting started on Amazon.
Absolutely. You said like Amazon really lends itself to products that, or PPC. So I elaborating from that in my brain, if you got a product idea where you're almost inventing a new category, or it seems almost difficult to explain, or there isn't anything else out there that does that, to me, it seems like that maybe Amazon wouldn't really work out the best for you if people aren't already searching for something like that.
Well, typically, so they're probably searching for some type of problem or solution, right? There's got to be some alternatives. Some of our best product launches have been products that have never been on Amazon before. So that would be my secret tip for your listeners is like, if you have a product that, like, I don't know, it does really well on Etsy, right? And there's not like, you're like, there's nobody like this on Amazon. That's a really good indication that your product could succeed on Amazon. Now, what you need to do is like, you could go do the keyword level research. But again, if you're having success with your product and you don't see something on Amazon, I think it is always worth the test because, again, Amazon's not really serving up a lot of like keyword data if there's nobody like really converting from that keyword data, right? Like they're going to like, for a really good example of this is if you have a word that has to be auto-corrected, right? Amazon will auto-correct it if there's just like not a lot of searches and they'll just spin it to a completely different search term. So, that's another hack is like, if you can find something that is being auto-corrected, you know, it's going to require you a lot of work to actually reverse that on Amazon. And it just comes with time, but it can be really good opportunities for you on Amazon. So yes, at the end of the day, like with Amazon, you can test quickly. You can test very cheaply too, because all you have to do is you could send in as little as 1 unit into Amazon FBA. You'll get the Prime badge. Okay. And then you could start running ads on it. And when you start running ads, you're going to see like the click-through rate. Okay. The CTR, the click-through rate is going to be one of your most telling signs. If you have a click-through rate that is greater than 0.4% on Amazon PPC, it means that customers are resonating really well with your product. Because 0.4% is kind of like the median click-through rate. Anything below that, and every category is definitely different, but let's imagine because some of my products, we have 1% or greater click-through rates. We know we're crushing it in those spaces because that click-through rate is so high. So again, with just there's so much data that you can quickly know whether you have a winner or loser on Amazon.
That's amazing stuff. Here's another question I have, or maybe I'm looking for validation here. It's like the skill set that you have in running your Amazon business and helping others with Amazon. While there are some parallels to what I do with a direct consumer side and like an owned experience and like Shopify, I would never say I couldn't help anyone do anything on Amazon, to be honest. Like the skill set's just so different to me. And oftentimes when I meet brands, they're like looking for a unicorn, someone that can do both. And I kind of argue, like, I don't think you're going to find that person.
Yeah. I think it's really challenging. I think they are completely different skill sets, right? I know, like, especially if you're referencing an agency, right? An agency, I do think it is a unicorn that can do it all, right? And there are some that plead to be, right? That's like, we can help you scale your D2C website, and then we'll also help you scale Amazon. I would say they're going to be watered down in one of those areas, right? They might have hired somebody that previously had an Amazon brand and he's running their Amazon brand strategy now, right? But they're probably not like deep experts, right? So I know, for example, like there's a lot of nuances in Amazon and the keyword strategy, and especially with PPC strategies. There are immense intricacies with how you can advertise on Amazon. And then on the flip side, I know that like the skill set and talent for working with an agency that's just D2C and sending traffic to a funnel, it's like, you've just got to have a really good eye for like good creative. You're super quick at testing, and you're constantly coming up with new ideas for that creative, right? Like Facebook ads.
Yeah. And there's also, there's like the whole, you have full control over the look and feel of the experience, which is sometimes like, because Amazon takes that all
CRO optimization.
Yeah. Amazon takes that all away from you, and you don't have any control. So you don't have you're not building any of the skill set in UX and the customer journey and that stuff. And so when you like
zero,
we have multiple times helped Amazon brands, that are pushing, they want to expand their, they approach us in a million different ways, but it always comes down to this. Amazon's going to fuck us someday. We need to build this over here too.
Yeah.
And so we help them do that. And we always tell them like, this is not going to take off like it took off on Amazon for you, but we're going to build it the right way the first time so it can take off when you start to invest in the other elements, which is the paid ads. How are you sending traffic there? We can build the most beautiful store ever, but if it's in the middle of the desert, nobody's going to buy anything.
Yeah.
Like how are we sending foot traffic to this thing? It's I think that the unicorns don't exist. You're going to need to hire people with certain skill sets to do certain things, and I see that with some of the larger businesses we work with is they'll have like it'll be like a head of e-commerce and a head of Amazon. They're like two distinct different roles.
Yeah, I'm not at that point. My team is all centered around Amazon for sure right now. But I would argue that the D2C, and actually I already have somebody on my marketing team that is more like D2C funnel focused right now, but they're very different skill sets, not two in the same whatsoever.
Absolutely, Josh. All right. So if I have been listening to this podcast and I'm enjoying what you're saying, obviously I'm going to go and subscribe to the Ecomm Breakthrough Podcast. That's Ecomm with 2 M's. But where else can I get a hold of you or get in touch or just learn from you?
Yeah, so you could reach out to me at josh@ecommbreakthrough.com. If anybody's interested, they want to pick my brain about Amazon, you're welcome to reach out to me there. And then also on LinkedIn, just Josh Hadley, you'll find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It was a pleasure, Chase. Thanks again.
We can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own businesses. You can find all the links in the show notes. You can subscribe to the newsletter at honestecommerce.co to get each episode delivered right into your inbox. If you're enjoying this content, consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really helps us out. Lastly, if you're a store owner looking for an amazing partner to help you get your Shopify store to the next level, reach out to Electric Eye at electriceye.io/connect. Until next time.